Hello, welcome back from a long winter break. Actually, it wasn't that long, but some big things happened. That's right, the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. The Sixers are kind of slipping, but the Flyers are on their way up on a hot streak. Who knows what can happen? Let's talk about it after this intro.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
So yeah, welcome back from the intro. Yeah, I got a great group of panelists on desk. I got Josh, I got Selena, and I got Trevor. So yeah, we're just going to open it up talking about the Eagles. You see I'm wearing the hat, conference championships. We're going to the Super Bowl. And like, I said it at the beginning of the year, and I kind of stopped saying it after my dad told me to stop saying it. But yeah, you know, we beat the Falcons. We didn't get to talk about that, but we beat the Vikings. We do get to talk about that. So yeah, 38-7. We blew out the best defense in the playoffs by 31 points? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, everything that happened Sunday was just one of a kind. You know, I got to go. I'm sure a lot of us got to go down to the tailgate, got to go down to the city and see what the vibe was like. And it was honestly one of a kind simply because it's been so long since we've been this far. You know, the last time the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, we were in elementary school, maybe middle school, maybe for you. So this is definitely something that you don't take for granted as a player, as a coach, as anyone who's an Eagles fan. You definitely don't want to take this for granted, right?
I agree with you, Josh. This city was electric on Sunday. Like, there was nothing like it. Before the game, during the game, and after the game, the celebrations, I was driving and people were just honking everywhere in the streets because people were so hype, and the city deserves it. We haven't had something like this in a long time, and they deserve it.
Yeah, the vibe was incredible. I went downtown after the game. I saw some pretty crazy things, but I think this whole city has embraced the underdog mentality, even going into the Super Bowl, and I don't think anyone would want it any other way. I think we're in a good position, and I think this city should be excited for the next 2 weeks and the week after that.
Yeah, the second, the buzzer went down, I immediately left the house, and I was just standing in the street screaming at cars. There was fireworks up the block from me, and it was just the energy, like everybody honking, everybody happy, people were coming out of their houses. It was such a beautiful thing. And just being able to just see like our birds go out there and perform in such great ways. I mean, Torrey Smith, sure, at the beginning, he had that one drop, but he made up for it. He got in the end zone. We threw it to Alshon Jeffrey twice. I mean, that's why we're paying these guys. I'm sorry. If you can't tell my voice is just a little still suffering from screaming. It's been a long week, and it's going to continue to be a long week when you go up to look at that. But yeah, let's just talk about just the general stats of the game. The Vikings defense, once again, they're supposed to be really strong at stopping the run. Well, guess what? We ran the ball on them. They're supposed to, be good, or the secondary is supposed to be good. Guess what? We threw the ball on them. It's just such a beautiful, consistent effort. Nick Foles out there looking amazing. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about the receivers. Let's talk about Aguilar. Let's talk about Jeffrey. Let's talk about Smith. Let's talk about Trey Burton coming in there. Let's talk about Zach Ertz. It's just so good to finally be able to see this. But yeah, how do you guys feel about it?
I felt really good once, especially in the Atlanta game, and I know we're not really going to go into too much depth about it, but that Atlanta game was the first game in a while where we saw Nick Foles connect with his receivers. In the last couple of regular season games, I know it was bitterly cold, and the weather probably has a lot to do with that, with how Nick Foles plays. But the fact that he was connecting with Torrey Smith, which I didn't really see happening considering how ineffective he had been with Carson Wentz, building that chemistry with him and Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon is our number one receiver, so you gotta build something with him. You gotta be able to dap him up whenever he's down the field.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely seen chemistry there that wasn't there this whole season, and maybe that's because now Nick Foles has been used to practicing with his starters, where before he was practicing with the backups and Carson was practicing with the starters. But I was definitely surprised by Torrey Smith because he's not been what we expected at all this season. And he came up with a lot of big catches, especially that touchdown against the Vikings. So that was really nice to see. And Ertz, too, you got to give Ertz credit. Even though he's a tight end, he is always there when you need a first down conversion.
Right, and I think we need to give credit to every aspect of this team, even down to the coaching. We're seeing Nick Foles fall into his stride right at the peak time when he needs to, and every player on this team is stepping up, and that's what we need. Whether it be Torrey Smith or Alshon or LeGarrette Blount, every player is stepping up when they need to, and they're making the big plays when it counts.
And yeah, definitely. And just to even see just the evolution of the Eagles offense. Because, at the beginning of the year, we were still doing the thing that we did last season where we were throwing, short passes and trying to build consistency and build confidence. And now when you look at us, we're throwing deep balls like every drive. And, if we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. We have just so many opportunities to move the ball forward. 3 downs is nothing to us. As you saw, we're the best team on 3rd down conversions. We're the best team 4th down conversions. We're the best team on 3rd down touchdowns. And just to be able to think, oh, we're only going to run the ball? No, we're going to throw it all the way down the field, and they're going to catch it. We're going to score a touchdown. Like, that's such a beautiful thing. But our offense wouldn't be able to have stuck out some of the games that they have stuck out without the defense. And the defense has actually played really impressively. Like, I know, like we said, we're not talking about the Falcon games too much, but we shut down Julio Jones, who is one of the scariest wide receivers in the game. Hands down, I don't care what anybody says. We stopped him. Ronald Darby, shut him down, no touchdowns for him. And against the Vikings, we kept them down to a touchdown that ultimately they only got because of not a mistake, but hey, they were able to blow that coverage and he got in the end zone. But they pulled it together, and that was just such a fantastic ability to kind of adjust their game plan. So what was some of your favorite defensive plays in the win over the Vikings?
Well, it all started with the pick six, as everyone saw. Patrick Robinson, obviously, he picked off Keenum, and when he took it down, I guess it was on the left side of the field, everyone thought, a lot of people thought he was probably going to go out of bounds, give us really good field position from the 20 or 30, but no. Once he reversed field and got into the end zone, that essentially flipped the switch, and I think that got the stadium going. And having that home crowd as the 12th man really makes all the difference because, it's something that we're never going to see this year. But if we had gone into Minnesota to play this game, I don't think we would have won 38-7.
I don't want to pinpoint a particular play by the defense, but a person, because Fletcher Cox can walk on that field and everything can change in that moment. He is on top of everybody on every play, and he's a game changer. And honestly, sometimes I feel like I see fear in quarterbacks' eyes when they see Fletcher Cox coming for them.
Yeah, this entire defense is doing what they need to do. Going back to the pick six, I think it was the play. He easily could have stepped out of bounds, could have played it safe, avoided possibly a fumble, but he did what he had to do to get in the end zone, and I think that settled the whole team's nerves. Because I think everyone was pretty nervous going into this game, but having that blanket of a pick six to build off of, I think it was big plays were bound to happen after that, I feel like.
So yeah, definitely great performance defensively, and that's going to be the key to shutting down our opponent, Tom Brady. We all, there's nothing more you can say about the Patriots. They've built up a dynasty, and I think everybody's quite sick of just seeing, the Patriots win a Super Bowl again, But now we have the best opportunity to win on Sunday. We have the best quarterback in the playoffs, apparently, in the history of the NFL, which is a crazy thing. Nick Foles has done some fantastic work over Tom Brady. And they're giving me the rap, so I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to hit you with a commercial break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the Sixers. We're going to talk about the Flyers. Let's do this. Oh, we're talking about the Sixers? Oh, well, guess what? We're talking about the Sixers. Let's pull the Sixers graphic. I apologize about it. Listen, they're kicking me off the show anyway, so it's not. But yeah, so we're talking about the 76ers. It's my apologies. The 76ers. All right, so let's just jump right into it. Yeah, they've played some good teams. They played some bad teams. They're way better. They're doing way better than everybody thought they would. So yeah, let's just kind of open up the floor about that. What do you think are some of the biggest things about the Sixers' success or lack of success this season in certain aspects?
Yeah, they've had trouble winning consistently, and that's essentially what it's going to come down to down the stretch when it comes down to playoff time. And they picked up a good win over the Bulls, and when they went to Chicago, they kind of they faltered a little bit, and they've done that too many times this season. I believe it's about 13 or 14 games now where they've blown about like a 10 to 12 plus lead and just give it up, and they can't end up, and they just don't win. So they're still they're still young, and they're going to be young for a while, but you got to wonder if that's more on the coaching side.
Yeah, Josh, you mentioned those blown leads. I really do think that lies with Brett Brown more so than it does the players. I think some decisions that he makes might not be the best for this team, and I'm not so sure I'm going to see him on the sidelines next season because of that, but I think they need to get their act together because they're definitely more of a first-half team than they are a second-half team. But there's still a lot of bright spots. I mean, Joel Embiid is having a ridiculous season. Obviously, we know he's a starter in the All-Star game. Ben Simmons got snubbed, but he's having a Rookie of the Year season. And I don't know, they have a tough Spurs team tomorrow night, but they beat him before, and I think they can beat him again. So I think the Sixers have a bright future ahead of them.
I agree. It is worrisome that we can't pull out the late games. But going back to the bright spots of this team, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, obviously, if they can avoid injury, they'll be very, very good in the next 8 seasons, and this is going to be a great team. The only thing that I'm worried about is Markelle Fultz. I'm not sure. I was saying since the beginning of the season, I don't know if he's going to be coming back this season, and now I really don't think he's coming back this season. A video came out today of him shooting a new free throw, and it's just he has no progress, and I don't know if that's him mentally or the coaching or what's going on there. But they need to figure that out, and they need to get him into this league so he can grow as a player too, because we see what Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are doing at such young ages, and it would be a shame if we didn't have Markelle Fultz for a couple seasons now.
And going back to talking about, Brett Brown and the fact that we're the highest, turnover team in the NBA, Brett Brown a couple weeks ago, he was talking about sure, that's what happens when you have a bunch of young guys playing aggressive basketball, and he doesn't exactly have a problem with it. So, maybe he will find himself working in another front office, or maybe not at all if nobody wants to pick him up. But yeah, definitely he doesn't see a problem with his guys, and you know what? I don't either, because I like being able to see some passion and energy out there. They're trying to make plays. They're trying to make those aggressive passes, and who knows? Maybe they will become maybe we'll get our own little Chris Paul out there being able to pass from no matter where he is. But yeah, let's talk about Ben Simmons specifically. Like Selena said, snubbed from the All-Star game, but he's playing such fantastic basketball. And what do you think are some of the leading factors to that?
Well, Ben Simmons is so big and I don't want to say lanky, because when you think of lanky, you think of the tall 7-foot guy, doesn't have much weight to him. He's a pretty built guy. And he can get to the rim so easily that it's almost not that big of a deal right now that he doesn't have an official jump shot. We have seen him shoot in games, but that is something that he's going to want to improve as his career comes along. But either way, he has 5 triple doubles, as everyone saw on the screen there, and he does that a lot mainly because they leave people like J.J. Redick open, who we'll talk about later, and then they leave Joel open in the paint or out on the perimeter. And so Ben Simmons, with all of the talent we have on the team, is able to get those assists.
Yeah, I think the fact that he has 5 triple-doubles already as a rookie shows how versatile he is as a player and how much of a playmaker he is. But like you mentioned, if he can just work on that shot, he will be unstoppable for sure.
Yeah, and I think Ben Simmons has something that other players such as Lonzo Ball that they don't have, and that's heart and grit. And that's something you can't really put a price on. You can see in his eyes that he wants to be successful. He wants to grow with this team. He wants to grow with Ben Simmons or with Joel Embiid, and that's something that you can't teach someone, and that's something that it's only going to improve over time, and it's only going to benefit the entire organization.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all 3 of your points, and but moving on, we unfortunately have a Sixer who's injured, J.J. Redick, with a leg injury. He's estimated of coming back, mid-February, so that won't be too far off now. But yeah, so how do you think the team's offense is going to suffer while he's gone?
Well, they're going to suffer, especially in the from 3-point land in that category, because if you guys followed the NBA for a long time now. You know that J.J. Redick is one of the best three-point shooters in the entire league, and without him, we're not able to spread the floor like we used to. But when he comes back, I think he'll definitely he adds 17, 18 points a game to the team, and that can only make our offense better. When he came to the Sixers this year, he took on a bigger role by having the ball in his hands more and dribbling the ball more. When you saw him out with the Clippers, he was more of coming off of a screen guy and a catch and shoot.
Yeah, I think J.J. Redick definitely is an asset to this team, and he's been a great addition to their offense, as you were talking about. But I think I don't think they're going to be super affected by this injury because it's going to be short-lived. He'll be back soon. Like Josh and I were talking about it before the show, and he should be back within a week or so. So I don't think they should be too worried about it.
Yeah, and even though he is injured, this is a time for young players to step up. So TLC is having bright spots in certain games. And if he can keep it up, he can grow as a player. That would be very good for the Sixers.
All right, yeah, so that definitely, that was a good 76ers talk, and I think I got it right this time. We're hitting you with a commercial break, and we're going to come back. We're going to be talking about Flyers, so see you then.
Hi, this is Eddie Dunn, host of LaSalle's favorite TV game show, Q&A. I'm here today to tell you to watch LaSalle TV. Though if you're seeing this commercial, that means you're already watching LaSalle TV. So I guess keep it up. You're doing an awesome job. I hope you like what you're seeing. Good job.
All right, welcome back from those commercials. We have a new panelist on desk. We're bringing Nick back on. Trevor had to take a break. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia Flyers, which from the last time we spoke, are doing much better. So maybe us talking about them is what causing them to do poorly. So let's not talk about them too much later on. Actually, what do I care? Anyway, the Flyers are playing up against the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight, right? And yeah, so while you're watching this, you can also flick back and forth and watch the Flyers actually play. And yeah, they have flipped the script. It seems they got inspired by the Eagles, and maybe they took the Sixers' energy and wanted to say, hey, let us get some W's first. But so yeah, just going into it, you can see it on the screen, like they've gotten a good amount of goals. So who do you think, or like what do you think, or like what happened to the Flyers to kind of make them like, all right, let's play hockey?
Well, yeah, it definitely had something to do with the city buzzing from the Eagles, them playing well. But they're just starting to click on offense more, and they're actually starting to win games more. They're 4-1 in their last 5 games, and that includes 3 overtime wins. And it's not very usual that you see Flyers winning overtime games, right? We're always used to them giving us heartbreaking losses late in games.
Yeah, it seems like the motto for the Flyers this season so far had become, at least we got a point, because they would get to overtime and then they would just blow it, whether in overtime period or in a shootout. Yeah. But I think this is the first time in a long time that 3 Philadelphia sports teams are all over 500. So it feels pretty good right now, like knock on wood. But they've been incredible, and I think it has a lot to do with that first line. But and Claude Giroux, obviously, we know he's an all-star. Some all-star snubs there, Sean Couturier and Jake Voracek. But I think their goaltending's been good, and something's just clicking within their organization.
I think it has to do with the Sydney being very excited. Like I'm even excited about this team. They're on fire right now. It's because since they were a young team, like we talked about at the beginning of the season, those young guys, they are starting to say, hey, we're in the NHL, so why not act like we're NHL guys?
So looking forward, what do you think are some of the Flyers' remaining like opportunities to build on so they can continue to become a solid team that can make a good playoff run?
Well, they're picking up big wins over divisional opponents. I'm sorry, Nick. I know you're a Capitals fan, but we picked up a big win on Sunday. But before that, we picked up an even bigger win on the road at the New Jersey Devils, who were basically a borderline playoff team, and they're starting to fall off a little bit. So maybe when we beat them, that was when they started to tank a little bit. But like I said before, they're closing out games, and we talked about Claude Giroux and Jake Voracek. And Sean Couturier, and Selena, I want you to touch more on it because you said before the show how if there was a most improved player award for the NHL, Sean Couturier should win it.
Yeah, Sean Couturier, I think he's got 26 goals this season. That's more, or I think it's almost more than his past 2 seasons combined. So he has been absolutely incredible for this team. And regarding the rest of the team, I just think, like I said before, I think things are clicking, but I'm not so sold on the coaching yet. Dave Haxtell gives me a little bit of anxiety because he doesn't seem to show any emotion. But I think if they can improve on that coaching staff within the next year, I think they can have the potential to be a really good playoff team. Obviously, they have a tough game tonight against the Lightning, but we'll see how it goes.
I think it has to deal with Brian Elliott in goal. He's making big saves when time's winding down in the game, and when especially during those overtime games, he's making those big saves that they need. And I think tonight's going to be a kind of a tough game for them as well.
All right, so looking at the Flyers roster, what would you say our weakest player is, who you want to see not on the team next year?
Well, that's kind of tough because hockey is just about as much of a team game as any sport you can play. But the defense has been questionable all season. That's probably where we lack the most experience. We have a lot of young players and rookies and second-year players that are still trying to get their feet wet, no pun intended, in the NHL. But they just got to keep playing the way that they have been playing in terms of keeping the aggression up and just making big plays down the stretch. I guess as time winds down, as crunch time becomes closer, it seems that we've been able to step up in those situations. And it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish, right?
That's true, and it's hard to pinpoint one player, but I agree with you. The defense has been a little shoddy this season, and you mentioned younger guys, but in terms of veterans, I'm not a big fan of Andrew McDonald.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's the one player like I would pinpoint, but he's not my favorite either.
I mean, I would have to agree with what both of you said. It has to deal with the defense, so they kind of have to structure next year around with the defense.
And I think one other thing I want to add is that it doesn't help that this Flyers teams, at least in the first half of the season, seemed to be more of a pass-first team. You look at the stats in terms of our top players on offense. Jake Voracek is a league leader with 55 points, but he only has 9 goals.
Yeah, 46 assists.
Yeah, so he, among the league leaders, he's the only one who has less than 10 goals. So, we got to be more aggressive on offense and just take the shots when they're there. We got to stop passing up so many shots.
You mentioned pass first, and I just think that's a running theme in Claude Giroux's hockey career. It's not just his entire hockey career. He's a playmaker, and he clearly is one of the best in the league, but that's just something that's bothered me throughout his entire career. He's always a pass-first guy, and sometimes you just need to take the shot. You just need to take it.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. He needs to be less of a team player, and at some points in the game, he needs to take the shot more.
All right, so just one last quick question about the Flyers. Based on their production right now, how deep of a playoff run do you think they can make if they make it?
Well, that's tough simply because, right now they stand at 3rd in the division, which would give them, I think, around a 4 or 5 seed when you look at the conference standings.
Which is not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. And hockey's one of those sports where anything can happen. We've seen in the past before how 8-seeded teams make it to the Stanley Cup and then eventually win it. Didn't happen last year, but it could happen.
Yeah, I agree. Last time when they made the Stanley Cup, when they beat the Canadiens and the Bruins, but I don't know. I don't know if they'll have a long run, so we'll see.
I say they're going to make it into about the 2nd round.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that works for me, and that's just about does it for Flyers talk. And if you watch the show, you might expect a certain segment to come up here, and not Phillies talk, but Fast 5. Unfortunately, or fortunately, this is my last episode. So I just wanted to talk to you guys for a little bit. My favorite team, Philadelphia team, has always been the Philadelphia Eagles. And we've gotten nothing but disrespect from every single, person, media source, outlet, talking all the trash about the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, guess what? We continue to be underdogs. We continue to go out there and play good football. And we made it to the Super Bowl. How about that? We actually took a team in our second year under Coach Peterson, under Carson Wentz, a brand new team basically. Oh yeah, we're going to lose to this. We lost to the Chiefs. Oh, we suck. We're not a real football team. Oh, we lost to the Seahawks. They're done. Oh, we lost Jason Peters. They're out of here. Oh, we lost Carson Wentz. They're not going to make it. Well, guess what? We proved the doubters wrong I'm so sorry, every single time, and we made it to the Super Bowl. That's all I got to say. You won't see me on the show anymore as a host. You're going to see the wonderful Josh Abrams hosting, and I'm glad to leave the show in his hands. It's been a great time. I want to say thank you to Tyler, to Kevin, to Tanya, to Josh, I'm sorry, to Selena, to Nick, to Trevor, to Steven, just to so many great people who gave me the opportunity to actually come on here. I got to show love to Dave. I got to show love to Steven. I'm throwing my pen everywhere. It was such a great, fantastic time just to be able to come on here and host this show. I'm really glad that you guys watch. I hope that you guys continue to watch. The show's only going to get better. I had such a fantastic time. And once again, just in case you didn't know, just in case you didn't remember it, you see this hat? You want to zoom in on this hat, please? Take a look at that hat. We are the conference champions. And guess what? Tom Brady, New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, we're coming for you. You're done. Your dynasty's over. Eagles are winning the Super Bowl. That's it. That's a show. Once again, follow us on social media, Sports Talk LTV, and come to Saxby's, bro. I got to pitch myself. Come to Saxby's, get some coffee. I got you. That's a wrap.